All right, back with you, San Diego sports leader. It is the mighty 1090. Obviously, we went into the weekend thinking about San Diego State and New Mexico, and everybody watched the game over the weekend. Not the way I wanted to be for the Aztecs and the Aztec fans. Joining us, though, nonetheless, win or lose. As always, he is Brian Dutcher, the associate head coach, the head coach in waiting at San Diego State. 23-3 so far on the season, 13th in the polls, which came out today. Dutch, thank you very much for the time.
It's great to be back, Darren, and great to be back in San Diego.
Well, I'm sure it is as well. You know, it's a compliment to your program here that stuff like this doesn't happen very often. How's the team taking a loss?
You know, we came back, got back yesterday, watched a little bit of the tape on the game. You know, you're always trying to get better, Darren. That's the key. It's not the loss itself that does you in. It's, are we regressing? What areas do we need to improve in? You want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season. And so we're just taking it as a learning experience. We're still in first place. We still only have 3 losses on the year. We're real excited about what's to come, not what's behind us in this season.
Dutch, you know, it's hard to think about the game or talk about the game without talking about Xavier Thames, who did not have a good stat line, as you know. You know, and shooters are going to go into slumps, and I think everybody understands that. But most importantly, are you and Coach Fisher, are you guys okay with his shot selection?
You know, I think X would be the first to admit he's pressing a little bit, and that's what good players do. You know, they press a little bit when things aren't going well, and the good thing is he knows that. You know, he knows he needs to maybe take a step back, maybe probe a little bit more, move the ball, and get the better look early. But like most really good offensive players, and especially the way it was going at New Mexico early, I'm sure he felt the heat to try to keep us in the game offensively. And sometimes when you try to go too fast or press too much, the shots you take to keep us in the game are the ones that end up putting us a little further behind. And that wasn't just X. That was our whole team. We charted the game. Utah State, we really moved the ball. We had a lot of assists. New Mexico, we got behind. Everybody relied on their abilities to try to help us get back in the game, and we quick shot it too much. And with that being lesson learned, hopefully we can grow from that experience. And next time we're in it, rely on our teammates, rely on our offense. That's everybody on the team to have better production offensively.
See, I think you guys, Dutch, I thought it was it's an interesting thing to watch because, you know, you guys are down double digits. I mean, you're down 20 points at one stage there in the second half, and Thames is still out there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, should they put him on the bench or do they want him to keep shooting to try to find some rhythm? What's going through your guys' minds there when you're so behind in the game and yet you still have Xavier out there shooting the ball? I mean, those are your two options, right? To bench him or put him on the bench, I should say, and rest him, or would you prefer that he keep shooting to try to find a rhythm?
You know, I think your first comment was good, to bench him. And I think that's, at least from my standpoint, that's not the feel I wanted to give. Like, you're playing bad, we're going to bench you. You know, I think it gave us an opportunity to say, X, we believe in you. You know, we're going to get you out of this slump. We're not going to say you're playing poorly, we're going to bench you. And then he's fighting the mental battle that, hey, you know, they don't believe in me. They think I'm struggling too much. And we believe in X. And so I think maybe even though we were down, we probably left him in a tad too long just to try to see if he could get himself into a rhythm. So as X goes, in large part, everybody knows we go. And when he was scoring 20 points a game, everything came easier for everybody else. And so the people we play are not ignorant to that fact. They set their defenses to stop Xavier. And so what he has to do, like all good players, they do at the professional level. When you have 2 players on you, you have to move it. When you do have the opportunity to find a crease or get a good look, you have to make it. And so X is getting good looks. He's not he may be forced 1 or 2 shots over the last couple games, but the looks he's getting are the same looks he made earlier in the year. He just has to find a way to get that first one to go down and get the confidence back up.
You know, we're talking to Brian Dutcher at San Diego Sports Leader, the Mighty 1090. Are teams defending Xavier differently than they were in the beginning of the year?
You know, I don't think so, Darren. Maybe the preseason games they guard him a little different, but once we got through the preseason and everybody was talking about X as a possible Player of the Year candidate in the conference, everybody knew how important he was. And so he was just able to attack some of that pressure and create some good looks for himself. I think he's getting a lot of the same looks, and it's just not, unfortunately, they're not falling for him. I thought early in the New Mexico game we had him right where we wanted him, right in the heart of the defense for the pull-up jump shot, which is X's best shot. And he just could not get one to fall. And I know I've said this in the past, the putting analogy, when all of a sudden you miss your first one-footer, that next one-footer looks like it's 8 feet. So same thing with shooting. He's got to see one go in to get the confidence going again. And it's not like he's not putting the extra time in practice, getting the extra shots up. And we even last week made sure we gave him extra rest, because sometimes the first thing to go when your legs are tired is your shot. So we're trying to be smart with how much we're using X in practice, trying to keep him on fresh legs as we go down the stretch of the season.
By the way, I don't want to completely overlook New Mexico in all of this, because it's not like you guys just laid an egg and they were just happened to be on the court. I mean, how good is New Mexico playing right now?
I mean, New Mexico was the preseason favorite to win the conference. So obviously everybody knew they were going to be good this year. I think it's just taken them a little while to maybe develop their bench. I think their starters have been solid, but now they're starting to get some contributions off the bench. I think Alex Kirk has continued to get better as the season's gone on. And it's hard to say for a veteran player. I think he struggled earlier in the year. And I think he's finally starting to hit his stride a little bit. Even though he didn't have a particularly great offensive game against us, he did have 5 block shots, I think 9 rebounds. And so New Mexico's a very good team, and especially in their building. With that being said, we're looking forward to a rematch with them here in a couple weeks to hopefully use our Viejas crowd to get behind us and give them a tough battle here in our arena.
One of the real quirky things about the box score, and I guess people that watch the game realize this as well, 3 free throw attempts. I mean, how many – I can't think of the last time that's happened to it. And by the way, it's not like New Mexico shot a ton either. So the referees, I guess, was it a clean game, or were the referees just letting you guys play?
The referees called it, I'd like to liken it to an NCAA tournament game where they want to let the players decide it and they let a lot of contact go. And like I said, with that being said, they let it go both ways. It was a very physical game. For us to be good offensively, Darren, we have to get to the foul line, because we're not the greatest shooting team in the world, but we attack pretty hard to the basket. And so when we went 0 for 3 from the line, it really cut our point production for the game. We had to rely on making shots. And I think what we do better than anything else, and have taken advantage of the rule change about, freedom of movement and no restricted body in you as you go to the basket. I don't have any complaints about the officiating. It was called more like a game where the refs didn't want to be a factor in the game and let it get physical. So whether that was staying with the intent of the rule change, I don't know. But like I said, I'm not complaining about it. We all knew that was the way the game was called from the tip, and we, unfortunately, were not able to adjust to that officiating and get some shots to fall for us.
San Jose State up next on the schedule. I think everybody knows that they have certainly struggled this season here. Tomorrow night, it's going to be in front of the home court, front of the home crowd. Give us a sense. This is one of those games you look at the schedule and you go, wow, that's a pretty bad team. San Diego State should be able to get right back on track there, but I'm guessing it's not that easy.
It never seems to be that easy. San Jose got their first conference win last week, and right after the win, they had an off week. So I think they'll be excited. They got into the win column. And then they had an off week, rest legs, maybe make a few adjustments offensively as to what they're running. And so I think we'll see a very competitive team coming in here, a team that feels good about itself coming off a win, a team that's had a week to rest legs and put a few new offensive looks into the game that we probably haven't seen or will not have seen on tape leading into the game. So we're excited to get back on the floor. That's the best thing about college basketball, and the worst thing. Sometimes after you have a big win, you're like, boy, I'd like to enjoy it for a couple days. But the same goes with a tough loss. It feels good to get back right away onto the floor and get back competing again. So we're looking forward to this short turnaround and to have our crowd behind us against San Jose tomorrow night.
Hey, Coach, I got to ask you one quickie about the end of the New Mexico game. What was going on there at the tail end of it with Winston Shepard?
It's hard to say, Derek, because all I've seen is what's on tape, because we had already shaken hands, obviously, as coaches and moved up into the tunnel in the locker room. I think it was just two competitive teams. Maybe there was some drawing. I don't know what end was what, but it wasn't. I don't think it was a big deal. They didn't make a big deal out of it. We're not making a big deal out of it. I think both teams respect each other. I think it was just maybe some emotions after a hard-fought game, and I don't think you'll see any lingering effects from either team. We'll just both move on from it and look forward to playing another really good game here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I would tend to say, what happens there on the court with emotions going high is a lot different than what might happen with fans, because it seemed like there was something happening between Winston and the fans at New Mexico as well.
Well, Winston obviously visited New Mexico when he was recruited, so I don't think their team harbored any ill will. Everybody that gets recruited knows you have choices. So I don't think they held any ill will. He didn't come to New Mexico and came to San Diego State. Maybe fans harbor more ill will toward that and felt like they were mad he didn't come play with them. But, you never want water being thrown on the team as you're leaving the court or ice. But that's not New Mexico fans. They have a great fan base. Sometimes you get a rogue fan in there that is not a reflection on the entire New Mexico fan base. And they were loud. They were into the game, I thought, in a positive way, and they helped their team play better. What happened at the end of the game when water and ice is thrown, everybody knows there's no place for that. I thought our kids, obviously they were frustrated some by it, but they got up into the tunnel and got to the locker room. And life lesson learned. Not everybody is going to behave in a manner that they're supposed to or should. And I think the New Mexico administration has done a good job trying to identify the parties involved and discipline them accordingly on a ticket basis.
Well, hey, Coach, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time. Good luck here tomorrow night against San Jose State, and we will talk to you next week.
Enjoy spring training, Darren, and we'll see you back here in San Diego soon.